as Commissioner Davis mentioned, no one, they don't have a suspect in custody. They don't have a suspect at Brigham and Women's Hospital, which had apparently been reported. All they would say is that they are questioning a number of people, trying to get some answers to what exactly happened here today. And then, of course, after you figure out who did it, you want to figure out the why and why this happened, and why this city had to experience this terror attack.
We did hear from District Attorney Dan Conley. He said that citizens were running in to help the victims, just right alongside police officers and paramedics. People who were watching, who saw this, instead of running away, they ran towards these explosions, and they tried to help where they could. We are hearing these stories about runners ripping their shirts off, making tourniquets with their shirts for these people, trying to stop some of the bleeding. We know there are a lot of doctors and nurses who are in the area who are treating people in the medical tent. They came out to help. That whole medical tent, in fact, really turned into a trauma unit for a good amount of time until they could get enough ambulances to start transporting some of these victims out. But just, an amazing show of compassion, and a lot of people running in when really the majority of the crowd was running the opposite direction, and when police officers were telling people to run the opposite direction. So we are sort of hearing the silver lining in all of this. Let's see.
We could go outside to Janet Wu. She is joining us outside in the back bay once again. Hi, Janet.
Hi there, and I will confirm what Amanda said. It was inspiring to see right after these explosions happened, the people running right there to see what they could do. I want to tell you about an impression that I had that I've now heard repeated by other people, and the confusion that happened when that first explosion went off. It was such a happy situation, a wonderful scene, a bright sunny day, that when the explosion happened, everybody, of course, had no idea what was going on. It was clearly louder than a gunshot, clearly louder than a car crash, and you could feel the reverberations. But that first explosion still confused people, and even I thought that maybe a cannon had gone off as part of a planned celebration. But when the second explosion went off, about 12 seconds later, we all knew something was bad, and everybody started running to that scene that you're watching now that is so chaotic. And I want you to imagine how this was, because you have streams and streams of runners tearing towards the finish line. They're on their runner's high because they finally made it. This is 4 hours and 9 minutes into the marathon, so this is the height of the crowd when the most runners are passing through. It's after the elite runners, it's before the really, really slow runners, so this is a big crowd. So there are lots of people running this direction. You have the medical personnel out there waiting just to see if anyone needs assistance, and then all of a sudden you have emergency personnel running in the opposite direction, sort of against the tide, trying to go to that scene where this happened. And as we've been reported, it was just really about 100 feet away from that finish line, near the bridge. And then when the second explosion went off, there was already so much smoke, it was even more chaotic. But still, people went and they ran trying to help, definitely medical personnel and civilians. And I don't want to talk too much about this because it's unnecessary, but it was a horrible scene. It was graphic and it was bloody, and people still rushed over to help. The untrained people, they did what they could, and they were also, I want to say, very respectful when they were told to leave, that there was nothing else that could be done. And so where we are right now, it's a gloomy, I will tell you, unlike any other Boston Marathon night we've ever seen, and we will never see again, because this city, which should be one big party after such a beautiful event, is now a very somber place, and it's empty, and no traffic through here, as investigators are still here looking for every clue to try to find out who was responsible for this very tragic event today. And that is the latest here from Copley Square. Janet Wu, 7 News.
And Janet, we do see some activity there behind you, some lights and some police officers standing around, but have things somewhat quieted down, I guess, over the past couple of hours from your perspective? As far as, like, investigators, earlier tonight you were talking about how police cars were just kind of racing by you and things of that nature.
Yes. Yes, and that's exactly how I knew that the other explosions that we heard must have been planned, because when you see the police cars screaming by with their sirens on, like a bat out of hell, you know that they're racing to something that is has imminent importance. And this is different now. It's a lot of people sort of on patrol. You've seen behind me people in uniform, National Guards people. We've seen some armored vehicles. We've seen a lot of police cars from neighboring towns, as I've said, a lot of canine units, a lot of bomb investigators. Basically, every kind of response that you can imagine has been here. And right now, they're basically just patrolling and still making their rounds in this 15-block radius that remains closed off. And you know what they're doing? They're investigating every car, everything that's suspicious. They have a lot of abandoned packages to go through, because as we've been talking, people ran for their lives, and they dropped bags and purses and gym bags and clothing and everything has to be treated with suspicion until cleared, because we're talking about, as we have confirmed, multiple devices that were found, and no one knew what we were dealing with. So it's been a really difficult situation, and I have to say, you know, I can't imagine it being handled any better, the way the response has been, both the medical and the emergency response to this tragedy.
You know, Janet, that's exactly what we have been hearing from law enforcement officials, also from the governor. We've lost Janet. But you know, that was what we have been hearing from the governor. He's incredibly proud of the response that he's seen. We know that state police, National Guard, they've also been called out here. Of course, local law enforcement. And we're hearing that law enforcement from cities, you know, far outside city limits of Boston have come in to help, have offered their services, because we do know that tomorrow in Boston, you're going to see a lot more officers on the street. There's going to be a heightened police presence, and of course BPD can't do the job. They're bringing in a lot of other people, or rather, you know, can't do the entire job because it's so big, I should say. So that's why so many other folks are coming in to help out, so many other officers from other cities, other towns, to help what's really become an incredibly big job, not just this investigation, but securing the city.
Well, as Commissioner Davis mentioned earlier, they have all off-duty Boston police officers ordered in to report to the districts, and they're on their emergency mode now, and they'll be working 12-hour shifts, 12 on, 12 off. So you will see a significant presence in and around the city, not just with Boston police, but you're going to see state police, probably ATF as well. FBI, I'm not sure they'll stand out as much, but they are leading the charge here, leading this investigation. So you're going to see a significant police presence. Tomorrow, Boston is open tomorrow, as the governor said, but it will not be business as usual. And I guess some of the questions that some of the people want to know is if, in fact, they're going to be showing up for work, if work will be open. I would imagine it probably would be. Business does need to continue, especially in the back bay. A lot of financial institutions located here, and you know, despite what happened here today, you know, business has to, you know, the world does continue and the business continues. So we'll have to find out exactly what it's going to be like tomorrow. It will probably be a very bizarre day, to say the least, as today is. You know, today on Patriots Day, Monday, a day of celebration really throughout the city, with the marathon, with the Red Sox playing an early game. This is really a wonderful day, but it has turned horrific, it has turned tragic, and it will unfortunately blemish this day from here on out. So many people will have this terrible memory. 3 people killed, more than 140 injured in 2 well-coordinated and planned explosions that happened within 50 to 100 yards of one another. One at the finish line at the Boston Marathon, and another one about 50 to 100 yards down the street on Boylston, and just the absolute chaos and devastation that ensued. And, you know, we're going to be dealing with this, Amanda, now for days and weeks to come, and until this gets wrapped up. And when I say that, until investigators figure out who was behind it and why they did it, I think a lot of people are going to be very nervous, a lot of people are going to be on edge, and we'll see how this kind of impacts city life here.
Yeah.